Every nation in creation has its favorite drink. France is famous for its wine, its beer in Germany. Turkey has its coffee, and they serve it blacker than ink. Russians go for vodka, and England loves its tea.
Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Tea and Toast with me, Lewis Burnell, and my good friend David Pinar. Tea and Toast is our new video podcast. It'll be around 10 minutes in length, and we'll try to stick to one specific gaming topic for each episode. Today's will be the unfortunate news of Redundancies at the previously known Sony Online Entertainment that was recently rebranded to Daybreak Game Company after the acquisition by Columbus Nova. Our two specific points of discussion today are thoughts on the merger as a whole, and what redundancies mean for existing IPs. That includes PlanetSide 2, H1Z1, EverQuest Next, Landmark, EverQuest, and EverQuest 2. In no particular order, I'm going to quickly run through the staff at Daybreak Game Company that were laid off as part of this week's announcement. Linda Carlson, Aaron Bisnett, Tiffany Spence, Eric Smith, Steve Danusa, Kyle Manchester, Jeff Butler, and Dave Georgeson are all confirmed as having left the company. All of the above are seasoned developers who've been with Sony Online Entertainment for a long time, and the vast majority are linked to core game development or as part of the social media and community teams. Clearly, at some point during the merge, Columbus Nova felt that these employees were expendable and that they had little to offer from a community and development perspective. David, what's your thoughts on the merger between Columbus Nova and Sony Online Entertainment?
I think that as far as the merger goes, I think that it's very interesting that Sony sold, which is essentially their massively multiplayer online branch, that's running many of their successful games like PlanetSide 2 and H1Z1 to an investment firm. I think it's quite healthy. I don't think anyone outside of the company specifically knows what the books look like for SOE, but if it was a situation in which it was either a sell the studio or sell the IPs, I think that it was a much better choice for Sony to sell specifically the studio to an investment firm than it would have been for them to say, okay, well these IPs are underperforming. Let's actually take EverQuest and the EverQuest franchise away from the studio and hand it to someone completely different. I really feel like that was the situation that the company was looking at, was to either sell the underperforming brands or sell the company. And I would much prefer them to have sold the company than to sell the brands.
So do you think the fact that it was sold suggests that Sony Online Entertainment wasn't making a profit for Sony? Because obviously logic dictates if they were making a profit, Sony would have kept them on instead of selling the multiplayer arm of the game development company.
Well, if you follow people like Omid on Twitch and listen, you'll understand that Sony hasn't really had a hit since PlanetSide 2. They haven't had any kind of successes. And before PlanetSide 2, there really wasn't much of any success from SOE, except for EverQuest 2 and Star Wars Galaxies. So, I mean, as a company, they haven't really made a successful game in a very long period of time. And the game that they did make that was, a success was, DCUO and PlanetSide 2. Which have absolutely nothing to do with, SOE's primary franchise of EverQuest. So, I mean, I definitely think that, the company was having some problems monetizing and supporting what is essentially their headliner franchises, which is EverQuest, and their successes, which were mostly, PlanetSide 2 and DCUO. So yeah, I definitely think there was issues with the studio.
Yeah, because the impression I get is that Sony was once a leading developer in terms of innovation. They were the first on the scene with EverQuest, with PlanetSide, and they seem to be playing a bit of catch-up at the moment, where PlanetSide 2 launched, which was brilliant, and it took on the likes of Battlefield, and I'd say it cleaned up in that department. But when we're looking at games such as H1Z1, EverQuest Next, although there's voxels in EverQuest Next and some of the things they're intending to do sound great on paper, it does feel as though they're a little bit late to the party quite consistently at the moment, and it makes me wonder if, as part of this sale, that the free-to-play model, although attracting plenty of players, is not actually reaping financial rewards.
Yeah, I think the writing was on the wall when Landmark entered a founder access period, an indefinite founder access period, where they were reaching out for money for this game before the game even was anywhere close to being, I would say, playable. If you played it when the alpha first came live, I mean that was something you would expect of an early access title in Steam from some really niche sort of developer. Like I can't even think of a game that was that bare bones at early access. So I think there was a lot of desperation, and we just were blinded by the fact they were releasing the product early, that we couldn't see the underlining tone of, oh, they're begging for money.
So, what do you think these redundancies actually mean for the existing IPs? I mean, there's some big scalps that have been taken as part of this merger. Dave Georgeson has been with Sony Online Entertainment for as long as I can remember, and he's obviously heading up the Landmark team as well as EverQuest Next. What do you think is going to happen to these IPs?
I don't know. I think that this might be an actual healthy thing for the company. Not to say that these individual people are not awesome game developers, or that they don't have awesome ideas, but the team that SOE has had up until this point hasn't really produced a lot of successes. And at any given time, a company is not producing a lot of successes. You kind of have to wonder, what kind of shakeup does it need? And for me, I feel like these layoffs are sort of like a painful growing phase for the company. You know, maybe, some of these people shouldn't have gone. And we don't even know how many people were let go. Like, how many janitors were let go? How many developers were let go? How many people that don't have Twitter or don't publicize that they've, left the company? How many people are there exactly, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, from the news article that I wrote, I would have guaranteed, and I'd have gone straight into the bookies and placed some money on the fact that as soon as this merger was completed, there would be cuts. And I think a merger only goes ahead if the price is right for the buyer, and if it's not right at the time, they will come in and make sure that they get value for money. And looking at a lot of these staff, I've no doubt with the length of time that they've been at that company, that they cost the company a considerable amount of money annually. So there's that aspect of just cutting costs all around. But I sometimes got the impression, looking in on Sony Online, that it was totally rudderless. They got fingers in all pies. None of those pies were tasting particularly great, and so it needs that. It needs that clear out to get some fresh perspective and to actually rein in ambition, because at the moment PlanetSide 2 is doing its own thing. H1Z1, I've absolutely no idea. I played it, but it again seems rudderless, and I think it seems late to the party. EverQuest Next and Landmark, I think, was a mistake splitting the two, and they should have been marketed as one, or at least released as one alpha product. And then EverQuest and EverQuest 2 will be here until the day I die. So I think overall, like you said, it will be good, and they need that stewardship at the moment.
yeah, and I think the thing that a lot of the fans are overlooking is that, these big names aren't with SOE, but who's to say that their next project's not going to be more awesome than if they had stayed with just EverQuest Next?
So do you think EverQuest Next and Landmark will continue as they are? Or do you think they'll launch as free-to-play products, or do you think Sony will change tact? Or
I
Daybreak,
think,
should I say?
yeah, I think Daybreak will definitely. I think EverQuest Next probably is going to go in a different direction than it was going, but I definitely don't think that it's going to become like a mobile free-to-play game where you need to spend $9.99 to get 25 gems to speed up your crafting.
I think I think for me, what we'll see in the next few months is the EverQuest and EverQuest 2 teams downsized even further. inevitably it's just an old IP that's no longer got legs and it's not going to see any growth. I think the Landmark team will be scaled back further and or merged directly into EverQuest Next, and we'll see a lot less things rolling out for Landmark. And I think what Columbus Nova will insist on is that these products are replaced back into just being a single unit so as to conserve development costs. That's my perspective on it anyway. As to what the next few months will bring, I'm not sure. I know we did hear some rumours of the contractors being let go as well. So as to timeline on things like EverQuest Next, what are we in now? Third year, fourth year of rumours and a tiny bit of footage? I can't imagine it for at least another 3-4 years at most now. And if not, it's just going to get pushed out the door.
Yeah, hopefully this change will get us EverQuest Next faster. I would imagine that, they are taking these cost-cutting measures and they are trimming a lot of fat out of the company, at least from their perspective. I know a lot of the fans don't see it that way. But if they are making the company more profitable and if they are just sort of, reducing it down to fewer people with a clearer vision, I think EverQuest Next might actually be better off than if it had continued with SOE and the large team that they were working with. It's because, like you said, I mean, they have their hands in every pie possible.
Plus, there's every chance. There's absolutely every chance that it could get pushed out the door quicker as a result of a sort of streamlined and focused developer. And I suppose now a lot of the team, knowing that they're under the cosh from Columbus already, and that if the performance isn't there, that they're out, that there's going to be that renewed vigor and concentration on getting these products out the door and getting them up to scratch.
Yeah, I completely agree. I definitely think that there is a lot of good coming from this, that I think after the dust settles, the community will see it, that, EverQuest Next is probably better off, but all of these big names are definitely going to be doing other projects, and I think that the community should keep an eye on those other projects as well. And we might end up with a veritable cornucopia of awesome things that the community would have never expected. Sometimes you gotta pull the Band-Aid off, and it hurts really bad, but once it's off, it's off for good.
So I think that's as good a place as any to end on. Our first Tea and Toast is officially over. David and I will be getting together again next week for another topic, and if you like what you heard, just hit the like and subscribe button. If you don't like what you've heard, drop me or David a tweet, and we'll do our best to respond with 200 characters or less. See you next week.
Every nation in creation has its favorite drink. France is famous for its wine, its beer in Germany. Turkey has its coffee, and they serve it blacker than ink. Russians go for vodka, and England loves its tea.